We're sponsored by BetterHelp. Think about the people who inspire you the most. Guess what? They don't have all the answers, but they do know how to ask for support when they need it. Therapy is a great way to find that support. Visit betterhelp.com/super today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/super. Why didn't Voldemort kill Slughorn? Hey, brother! Horace Slughorn, a character we don't meet until Half-Blood Prince, and yet who has a devastating impact on the history of the wizarding world. Not on purpose, of course. Slughorn was always one to single out talented young students and take them under his wing and point them in the right direction, make helpful connections for them so that he could later reap the benefits of his assistance from afar.
Roanoke Jones, captain of the Hollyhead Harpies, free tickets whenever I want them.
But when he inducted one Tom Riddle into the Slug Club, an obvious choice really, he ended up biting off more than he could chew and inadvertently found himself at the crossroads in the wizarding history. Tom cornered him after supper one night and innocently brought up the subject of Horcruxes. What are Horcruxes? How are they made? How do you split your soul? And perhaps most importantly, if it was possible to make more than one, is it possible to make 7? Isn't 7 the most powerfully magical number?
Merlin's beard, Tom.
And well, it is, but when it's not 7, it's 13. And if it's not 13, then it's 12. And if it's not 12, then it's 11. If you know, you know. Slughorn is very weary about discussing the subject at all, but does reveal what they are and how they work and how to split your soul. And in his defense, he also says that splitting your soul is an act against nature, that death would be better, and the idea of killing one person, much less 7, was a truly troubling thought and advises against any of it. Though he gives no real answer as to if you could make more than one, Tom walks away from the conversation feeling very good about what he's heard and clearly has not been dissuaded from the idea at all. And it's of course important to remember the fact that he's like literally wearing the ring already when he's inside of this meeting, which means he's already made at least one Horcrux, if not also the diary as well. And of course, we know that in the present that he does in fact use all this information and moves forward on his attempt to make a 7-part soul. Although, ironically, the moment that his soul is actually split into 7 pieces, which is what happens after he attacks Baby Harry, is also when he becomes his literal weakest, so that's just kind of funny. Here's the question. Although the conversation with Slughorn is initially very useful to Voldemort, it is also the memory of that conversation that helps Harry and Dumbledore zero in on exactly how many Horcruxes that they need to destroy. Information that is crucial to taking him down, because otherwise you'd never really know if you'd gotten all of them or if Voldemort was still out there, waiting to return in some distant future. So, if you are Voldemort and you know that you had this conversation with Slughorn and that he's the only other person who knows, why don't you just go kill him and make that information truly inaccessible? Why didn't Voldemort kill Slughorn? Today, we find out. Hey, brother! Okay, so we were asked this question while we were out on tour for Through the Griffin Door, and both Jay and I on stage were like, well, why didn't he kill Slughorn?
Life.
So out of the gate, there is at least one obvious explanation for why Voldemort would refrain from just killing Slughorn, and it's the same reason that he's on the run at the start of Half-Blood Prince. Voldemort wants to recruit him.
These are mad times we live in, mad!
And this puts Slughorn in a bit of a bad spot, because while he recognizes Voldemort is quite evil and doesn't want to help him, he also knows that any offer to join ranks probably comes under the threat of death. But also realizes that as long as he could be recruited, he's probably safe. But to openly denounce Voldemort would then just point the barrel right back at him. Best to just stay out of the way and see which way the wind blows, right?
My thoughts exactly.
And I just ask you, if you stand for nothing, Slughorn, then what will you fall for?
In the old days, I used to throw together the occasional supper party. Select a student or two.
But really, the other question is, if you think about it, does Voldemort even need Slughorn? Is he really that desirable?
I once had a fish. Francis is very dear to me.
Sure, he's a great potioneer, but doesn't Voldemort himself invent a body regeneration potion that works while in a completely bodiless state? And doesn't he already employ as one of his right-hand men, especially by Book 6, Severus Snape, The ultimate potions master?
I'm the half-blood prince.
What use could he actually have for Slughorn? Isn't he just a liability out there with his knowledge of Horcruxes and their link to Voldemort? Like, how valuable could his potion skills be? And the answer is that I think Slughorn probably represents far more to Voldemort than just a potions master, and the idea of having him on his side would have a powerful pull over his imagination. Here's the thing, while Voldemort is incapable of love and certainly has no friends and barely likes anyone,
No wonder she hasn't got any friends.
I do think Slughorn is one of the few people that Voldemort ever felt a modicum of respect for.
The other professors, well, they're not like you.
Consider this. Much like Harry, Voldemort grew up thinking of Hogwarts as his home, the only place he ever felt normal, or certainly the first place.
Hogwarts is my home.
We know, Harry, this video is not about you. Not everything is about you.
Okay, sorry.
Speaking of not everything being about you, back to Voldemort.
I don't have a home to go to. They wouldn't really close Hogwarts, would they, Professor?
Even though he is a Slytherin-centric maniac, he still deeply honors the history of the castle and even the other founders, finding and using artifacts from 3 of the original 4 creators. Why take the cup as well? It had belonged to one of the Hogwarts founders, said Dumbledore. I think he still felt a great pull towards the school, and he could not resist an object so steeped in Hogwarts history. And at Hogwarts, your house is like your family.
Your house will be like your family.
Not that Tom Riddle would ever feel that way towards his classmates, although, hilariously, Slytherin is his family. Then even more than that, Slughorn would have been the head of Slytherin House, almost like the father of the family at the home Tom had never known. And Slughorn would have been one of the very few people in his young life who ever recognized Tom's talents and celebrated them. Other professors and students would have certainly noticed his abilities, but most are merely impressed, and some, like Dumbledore, are actually weary of them, and rightly so, I might add.
Is there something you wish to tell me?
No, sir.
But Slughorn recognizes him as special, celebrates him as special, and even takes personal interest in him. In short, treating Voldemort in a way that he believes he has a divine right to be treated. The most special. And this feeds the ego of any megalomaniac. Voldemort simply cannot fathom a world where his read of the situation is incorrect. Like, just listen to him do battle with himself over the prospect of a Horcrux being destroyed. But surely if the boy had destroyed any of his Horcruxes, he, Lord Voldemort, would have known, would have felt it. He, the greatest wizard of them all. He, the most powerful. He, the killer of Dumbledore, and of how many other worthless, nameless men. How could Lord Voldemort not have known if he himself, most important and precious, had been attacked, mutilated? The point is that attention coming from Slughorn would certainly mean something. After all, this is a guy who has a history of choosing favorites, and Tom is assuredly his white whale, the big one.
Tom, I couldn't tell you if I knew, could I? By the way, thank you for the pineapple. You're quite right. It is my favorite.
Riddle obviously abuses this relationship instead to gain information about Horcruxes, thus burning that bridge forever and leaving Slughorn forever searching for a new white whale.
I don't know anything about such things, and if I did, I wouldn't tell you. Now get out of here at once, and don't let me ever catch you mentioning it again!
And, I wonder who that could be.
I am the chosen one.
You would be his crowning jewel.
Ah, would you look at that. Voldemort made something backfire on himself again. Oops! No, but the reality is that I'm not even sure he'd be aware of it. Voldemort's arrogance is such that he can't conceive of someone turning away from him, especially someone like Slughorn, a fellow Slytherin. Although, on that note, his arrogance may be leading him astray on this issue, but more on that in just a second, because the fact that Slughorn is a Slytherin could be a contributing factor to his survival as well. Because through the entire series, there's just one instance where Voldemort actually kills a Slytherin, Snape. And even then, he says he regrets it. Voldemort spoke in Parseltongue. Kill. I regret it, said Voldemort coldly. For what it's worth, he does not actually regret it. The very next line is literally, he turned away. There was no sadness in him, no remorse. I don't think you understand how regret works. Voldemort. But y'all, want to take a big pause right there to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, Factor. While Voldemort may always fail to factor in the power of love, you'll love the power of Factor. I'm not gonna lie, I was pretty proud of that one. People at the ad agency, like, thank you, thank you. But in case you've been living in the forests of Albania, let me get you up to speed. Factor has chef-made gourmet meals that make eating, well, easy. They're dietitian approved and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. And listen, I really shouldn't be telling you this, prophetic reasons and all that, but hey, since you, yes, you are the chosen one, I'll risk it. See, Gamp's law of elemental transfiguration, yeah, it means you can't just like summon food out of thin air. And trust me, you're gonna need fuel if you plan on hunting down those Horcruxes. Like, no one saves the wizarding world on an empty stomach. Or, you know, just like, simply make it through a busy week, like on par with saving the world sometimes it feels like. Factor can help you feel your best all day long with wholesome smoothies, breakfasts, grab-and-go snacks, and more add-ons. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/super50off and use code super50off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code super50off at factormeals.com/super50off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Link is in the description down below. And now back to the video. Actually, I gotta keep sitting here and do that part. Even without remorse, at least there was purpose to become master of the Elder Wand. Otherwise, it does not happen. And yes, a fellow Death Eater is killed in Karkaroff on his orders, but that's because he was a traitor.
I have names, sir. There was a Rosia. Evan Rosia.
And either way, Karkaroff wasn't a Slytherin. And then there is Regulus, who is killed by his trap in the cave, but he is also unaware of this, and it's unplanned either way. I guess you could also include the nameless Snatchers at Malfoy Manor, who bring him the news that Harry has escaped, but at that point he's in such a rage that none of it's on purpose, and Bellatrix, Lucius, Narcissa, Draco, and Fenrir get out unscathed. The other big detail is that Slughorn is on the list of the Sacred 28, the supposed list of pure-blooded families in Europe. So maybe killing him is just bad optics in the eyes of his supporters, especially if he has not announced any allegiances against him like the Weasleys or Longbottoms, who are also on the list. That could all explain Slughorn's inexplicable survival all the way up until he re-accepts his post at Hogwarts, which, according to him, all very well for Dumbledore to talk, but taking up a post at Hogwarts just now would be tantamount to declaring my public allegiance to the Order of the Phoenix. But except he does, and thus an allegiance is announced, and you'd think the target would be on his back for certain at long last, his only remaining protection being Dumbledore and Hogwarts, which could have also been protecting him in the First Wizarding War since he was the potions professor there at the time. But Dumbledore does not last through the year, does he? No. After Half-Blood Prince, even that protection is gone from Slughorn, and yet, with the school under his control and 3 Death Eaters on staff, Snape and the Carrows, Slughorn continues to be spared and employed. Like, what possible reason could Voldemort have at this point? The answer? Arrogance. See? I told you we'd come back to it. At the end of the day, whatever minuscule respect Voldemort may have held for Slughorn does not translate to believing him a particularly intelligent man. Because despite the conversation about Horcruxes that Voldemort had with Slughorn so long ago, here is his reaction to finding out that Harry has stolen the cup and is hunting Horcruxes. The scream of rage, of denial left him, as if it were a stranger's. He was crazed, frenzied. It could not be true. It was impossible. Nobody had ever known. How was it possible that the boy could have discovered his secret? Nobody had ever known. That is his belief and his insane arrogance on display. Because at least 2 people he is aware of did know, obviously Slughorn, who was so aware of it that he went about tampering with the memory and refusing to tell his secret out of fear and shame for the damage he had done. And then, Kreacher.
Kreacher has been watching.
Who may not have known about all of the Horcruxes, but certainly would have known about the locket, and yes, Voldemort did believe that Kreacher had died upon testing the defenses. Kreacher needed water. He crawled to the island's edge, and as he drank from the Black Lake, and hands, dead hands, came out of the water and dragged Creature under the surface. How did you get away? Harry asked, and he was not surprised to hear himself whispering. Creature raised his ugly head and looked at Harry with his great bloodshot eyes. Master Regulus told Creature to come back, he said. This is really twofold. One, Voldemort wouldn't believe that Regulus would betray him at all, and two, house elves couldn't possibly have magic that Voldemort knew not. But, all of that should come undone then in Order of the Phoenix because Bellatrix and Narcissa use Creature as part of the plan to lure Harry to the Ministry, which should have tipped Voldemort off that someone could have known about the cave. But of course it doesn't. Even when he's trying to reason out how Dumbledore could have known about the cave, he doesn't consider Creature and never puts two and two together to realize that it was the same elf as before, because they are that far beneath his notice. And as Dumbledore says, of house elves and children's tales, of love, loyalty, and innocence, Voldemort knows and understands nothing. Nothing. That they all have a power beyond his own, a power beyond the reach of any magic, is a truth he has never grasped. Of course, then Regulus also knew as well, and that didn't go very far, but it means two he knew about and one he didn't managed to learn the secret. And one of those was Slughorn, who lived at Hogwarts for a year with Harry and Dumbledore without Voldemort considering him a huge liability, despite this act apparently announcing his allegiance to the Order of the Phoenix. Voldemort just thinks that Slughorn is too stupid to put the pieces together, which he's not, or too afraid to tell anyone he was involved, which he was, and that's why Harry has to spend half a year trying to retrieve the memory.
Well then, by all means, come along, sir.
And I actually love this, because it's Voldemort's belief that fear is all-powerful, but when it boils right down to it, Harry is going to use the exact right wording, and it's once again Lily from the grave who is his ultimate downfall. You're scared he'll find out you helped me. Slughorn said nothing. He looked terrified. Be brave, like my mother, Professor. And he is, and as such, the exact number of Horcruxes they needed to destroy was revealed, because Voldemort was too arrogant to consider Slughorn a threat. Classic Voldemort, just always in his own way. Always in forever. But y'all, thank you so much, as always, for tuning into this week's episode. If you don't want to miss out on any future Harry Potter action from us, then be sure to like this video and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. And if you want to find out how Slughorn possibly contributed even more to the overall creation of Voldemort, then you can check out this video right over here. But otherwise, until next time, bye! And don't forget to eat cheese.